Hola, I am Tony Galvez from Road Trip Spain and Portugal, where we help you plan the perfect trip with practical information and insider tips. In this video, we are going to explain all you need to know about the issue of tips and tipping in Spain. We are going to talk about when, where, and how much you should tip. First of all, you should know a tip in Spanish is una propina, whereas to tip is dar propina. Okay, to make everything really confusing, we have used the word guidelines in the title of the video, but the first message we would like to put across is that there aren't really any guidelines on the issue of tipping in Spain. And this absence of guidelines is a fact that leaves most foreigners unfamiliar with Spain quite confused. No matter what you read on the internet, there are no set rules on the issue of tipping in Spain. No, it's not true that you are supposed to tip 10%, and no, it is not true either that you are not supposed to tip. It's more complex and subtle than that. To give you an idea how us Spaniards behave, and according to a recent study, only 11% of Spaniards stated that they always leave a tip, while a mind-blowing 17% also stated they never ever tip. And then there's roughly 70% of Spaniards who will occasionally but not always tip. And why is that? It is mostly because in Spain tips are not seen as a way to make up for the shortfalls in the waiting staff salary. While being a waiter or a waitress in Spain is certainly not a top job, labor laws ensure workers are paid a minimum wage that is much higher than that of their American counterparts, for instance. So everyone assumes waiting staff have a proper salary. No one feels obliged to tip. And you shouldn't feel forced either, at least while in Spain. And we would like to reinforce this point. In Spain, tipping is not compulsory. And as we have just seen, some Spaniards do not tip. And that leads us to the first point of the video. Let's talk about the when. Among the majority of Spaniards that tip, whether always or occasionally, there is agreement on an issue. Tips are always seen as a way of rewarding good service. And this is truly important because for most Spaniards, including ourselves, the main motivation behind a tip is recognition for the good service you have just received. The reverse is also true. Bad service doesn't deserve a tip, and the vast majority of Spaniards will not tip at all if they have received bad service. So the when, it's quite easy to understand. Tip whenever you have been well attended, and do not feel sorry at all if you don't tip when you have received bad service. Let's deal now with the where. Now, this is by no means a comprehensive list, but we are going to mention a series of places tourists are likely to visit and where you may tip, and a series of places where you should not tip. So, mostly you tip at bars and restaurants, but do not tip at fast food joints or ice cream parlors. At a top-class hotel, you might want to tip the porter, the concierge, or the maids. But the same would not apply to a budget hotel. You will not tip when you take a taxi, and the same goes for services like Uber or Cabify. If you hire a proper tourist guide, and we use the term proper to exclude the free tours that have taken over the centers of the cities, there is no need for you to tip, but you can do so if you received good service. You don't tip at shops, at travel agents, at ticket offices, or petrol stations. And let's discuss now how much you should tip. This is by no means simple. In bars and restaurants, if the total amount of the bill is not too high, you don't usually tip. This is certainly the case for anything under 5 euros, a couple of coffees for instance. If the total amount is above 5 euros, you might decide to round up the change, which is a very common practice that deserves some explanation. Let's see a few examples so you can get an idea of how it works. In the first example, the total amount was 585. We paid with a 10 euro note. The due change was 4.15 and we ended up leaving a tip of 15. But to be honest, in this particular case, quite a lot of people would not have left a tip at all. In the second example, the total amount was 24.75. We paid with 30 euros. The due change was 5.25. We ended up leaving a tip of 1.25. In the final example, the total amount was 27 euros. We paid with 30 euros. The due change was 3 euros and we ended up leaving a tip of 2 euros. Now, we'd like to stress that what we have attempted to portray here is the average behavior of a Spaniard, but as we have pointed out before, in all the cases we have shown, some people would simply not tip, while others might tip slightly more than we have. A very important observation: if you pay with a credit card, you should know that in Spain it's not common practice to include a tip in the credit card payment. If you pay with a credit card and want to tip, make sure you have coins at hand to do so. The mental calculation you will have to make will be similar. You round up the change in your head, reach for your pocket and grab some coins. Pay with a credit card for the full amount of the bill and leave the tip in the form of coins. As for tipping at hotels, the rules are very vague as they are for bars and restaurants. It is common practice to tip the porter. It could be 1 euro per item of luggage, and you can tip the maid cleaning your room, anything between 2 to 3 euros per day, but not everyone does. So we have seen how to round up the change because that's the way we tip in Spain. We do not calculate a percentage of the total bill. So if the bill is 100, we do not do a mental calculation 10%, 10 euros. No, we don't do that. We round up the change, a few coins. That's what most Spaniards do most of the time. So this is all we wanted to share with you on the issue of tipping in Spain. The 3 more important things you should remember are: tipping is not compulsory, tipping is seen as a reward for good service, and rounding up the bill is the best way to go. If you have any questions on the issue of tipping, you know, the commentary box is open for all your questions. We'd be delighted to help. If you liked the video, smash the thumbs up. Many thanks. And if you're new to the channel, take the opportunity to subscribe. It's just a click on the round button that will shortly appear on the screen. We'll see you soon on another video with tips for a road trip in Spain or Portugal. Até mais. Hasta la próxima. See you soon.